During the 1980s and 1990s, many married couples upheld their commitment to stay together through both financial ups and downs, the challenges of life, and in times of illness as well as good health. Can the same be said for married couples in contemporary society? The resounding answer is a clear no.
Why do modern men shy away from marriage? Approaching this question as an investment decision, let's peel away the layers of romance and procreation, treating marriage like a startup partnership where you're putting your entire present and future capital at risk. The bottom line is that the risk-to-reward ratio in marriage often appears unfavorable to men, making it an irrational choice. In such an analysis, one must consider worst-case scenarios, as these are the ones that can cause significant problems. Positive outcomes, on the other hand, rarely lead to complications. To begin, statistics tell us that around 50% of marriages end in divorce, which means that as an enterprise, it faces an even chance of failure. The average duration of a marriage is approximately 8 years, and notably, around 80% of divorce initiations come from women. Therefore, when entering this major investment, statistically, you're looking at a 50% likelihood of failure within 8 years, often at the discretion of your partner. Additionally, it's a well-known fact that men tend to fare worse in divorce settlements. Consequently, in a divorce, regardless of your contribution to the partnership, your partner typically gains the lion's share of the remaining assets. To marry or not to marry? Now, let's compare this risk-laden scenario to the alternative, choosing not to marry. When you don't marry, there is no risk of loss, although there is an opportunity cost. You might have fallen into the 50% of marriages that don't end in divorce, leading to a happily ever after scenario. All your investment capital remains entirely yours to utilize as you see fit. Any benefits typically associated with marriage, excluding those related to children, can be procured independently. Services like meals, housekeeping, and decorating can be outsourced, and companionship can be found through short-term leases, relationships, or other avenues. In essence, except for considerations related to children, the same returns one expects from marriage can often be achieved without assuming the capital risk associated with matrimony. In conclusion, marriage emerges as a high-risk proposition. As a man, why would you willingly enter a business venture with a 50% chance of failure, often with the other party initiating the dissolution and taking the lion's share of the assets? It echoes the famous line from the movie War Games: "The only winning move is not to play." 100 years ago, marriage served as a gateway to physical intimacy within relationships. Society's norms dictated that having sex outside of wedlock was socially unacceptable. Therefore, for a man to have a sexual relationship with a respectable woman, marriage was often the only avenue. Fast forward to today, and the landscape of intimate relationships has undergone a profound transformation. Waiting until marriage to have sex has become increasingly rare, if not virtually unheard of. Couples often live together for years before even considering engagement, let alone marriage. In this contemporary context, a woman who chooses to abstain from sex until marriage is often labeled as prudish or a tease. On the flip side, women who engage in sexual activities casually and frequently are sometimes celebrated as empowered and feminist. The shift in leverage. One significant shift in this evolution is the role of sex as leverage within relationships. In earlier times, women often used the promise of sex as a means to secure commitment through marriage. Today, this dynamic has markedly changed. Commitment no longer hinges on marriage because many couples cohabit long before tying the knot. This shift has implications for the dynamics of modern relationships. Inquiring about marriage in a modern relationship often elicits a resounding no from many men, especially when their partner isn't within earshot. To them, the status quo is more than satisfactory. They have a partner who lives with them and engages in sexual activities whenever they desire. In this arrangement, there's considerable pressure on the woman to maintain her physical allure and keep the romance alive, lest the man grows bored. If boredom strikes, the easy solution is to part ways, facilitated by the accessibility of new partners through platforms like Tinder. Marriage, in this context, seems to introduce obligation and commitment without offering any significant benefits that aren't already available. Conversely, if you were to pose the same question to a man from 1920, his answer would likely be a resounding yes. In those times, marriage was not just about commitment and obligation. It also meant unrestricted access to sex within the confines of a loving relationship. It meant building a life together and creating a family. Sex as a privilege, not an expectation. Throughout history, women have often faced a lack of power in various aspects of life. However, in one sense, they were truly empowered. Sex was a privilege earned through marriage rather than an expectation within casual relationships. Women needed men for protection and provision, but they also held something that men deeply desired, and this gave them a form of power within relationships. In the contemporary world of more liberal attitudes towards sex, women have witnessed a transformation in the dynamics of relationships. The historical trump card of sexual exclusivity that women once held within marriages has seemingly diminished. Living with a man, for some, might appear to offer little beyond what was traditionally seen as a wife's job, without the traditional rewards of commitment. In 2023, the concept of marriage as a social institution is undergoing a re-evaluation. Some argue that it primarily benefits women, who are increasingly seen as the driving force behind pursuing marriage. Popular culture, particularly romantic comedies or rom-coms, may contribute to the perpetuation of this narrative. However, it's worth noting that nearly 90% of divorces are initiated by women, adding another layer to the complex discussion surrounding marriage's role in modern society. One point of contention revolves around the financial aspects of marriage. A financially secure man who has dedicated his life to building a stable future may find himself in a precarious position post-marriage. In some cases, a short-lived marriage can lead to a divorce in which the wife demands a significant share of the man's income and wealth, even when her financial contribution to the marriage is minimal or non-existent. Child custody and emotional turmoil. For men who become fathers within the confines of marriage, the situation can become even more complex. In many cases, women are granted almost automatic custody of the children post-divorce, enabling them to exert significant influence over their ex-husband's life. This can lead to emotional turmoil, with children sometimes being used as tools to extract money or exert control. Both men and women invest significant time and effort into their relationships. However, it's not uncommon for women to assert that they've given their best years to a man. This assertion, coupled with demands for financial entitlements, adds to the complexity of modern relationships. While men may have made similar sacrifices, the argument often centers on women feeling entitled to everything they can obtain from their partner. In a world where sexual relationships can exist outside the bounds of marriage, some argue that men would be stupid to pursue marriage. However, women are increasingly using sex as a bargaining chip, either by withholding it until marriage or manipulating men into commitment through physical intimacy. This dynamic raises questions about whether love should be demonstrated through marriage, and whether such a commitment can be sustained when the initial passion subsides. And that's it for today on Sigma Traits. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you can be the first to know when my new video drops. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you all tomorrow.